Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Before we jump on into today's first look, do want to remind you if you enjoy the Gaming Gang and would like to support the outlet, you can do so in a couple of ways. First, by making a one-time donation through PayPal or by becoming a member of our Patreon. And you'll find links to those in the show notes. Also, down in those show notes, you'll find an invite link to our Discord server. Be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. Today, I am going to dive on in for a first look at Coriolis, the Great Dark from Free League Publishing. This 308-page hardcover is a Gen Con 2025 release, and it's going to carry an MSRP of $49.99. This is also slated to begin hitting stores on July 31st. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess if you happen to pick this up at Gen Con, because normally you will receive a free PDF if you order from Free League Publishing with your physical copy. You're probably going to get a slip with a digital code in order to redeem a PDF. That is my guess. I'm not saying that is what Free League Publishing is going to do, but I'll take a guess that's probably what they're going to do. Also have to point out, there is no pre-order link right now over at Free League Publishing. I took a look around. They are still showing Coriolis the Third Horizon, but not Coriolis the Great Dark. I thought that was a little unusual. Should also mention the PDF is not available as of yet. I'll take a stab. You'll be able to pick that up for $24.99 at Drive-Thru RPG, also on July 31st. All right, having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Coriolis, the Great Dark. I keep wanting to call this Coriolis the Deep Dark. I don't know why. It takes me a second. I go, no, it's the Great Dark. Few things to mention before we dive on in. First of all, my friends over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. So let's take a look at the back here. The star portals are dead. Ship City is dying, but there is still hope. You're explorers in a dangerous world. You do the work few others will. The enigmatic ruins of the Great Dark are shunned by most, but not by you. You seek them out to delve into their shadowy depths and uncover their secrets. The Blight, the cataclysmic scourge that spreads from the ruins, is your beacon. Where there is Blight, there are artifacts to find and mysteries to solve. Ship City is fading, but you and your fellow explorers can find a way to a better future. So don your Delver suit, step aboard a mighty great ship, and venture down the slipstream towards the unknown. Your creed? Explore or perish. Inspired by 19th century expeditions, deep sea diving, and pulp archaeology, Coriolis the Great Dark is a role-playing game about exploration and intrigue. Join dangerous expeditions, navigate the Byzantine schemes of Ship City, and hunt for the keys that unlock the mystery of this lost horizon. First thing we'll do is take a look at the credits page. Yeah, that's pretty nice end paper. Cool. Showing us the lost horizon there. All right, here is our credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life, so let's give credit where credit is due. Looks like artwork throughout is going to be provided by Martin Grip. I got to say, Martin Grip's style is a perfect fit for some role-playing games out there. If I recall correctly, he also provided the artwork for Coriolis the Third Horizon, which was very cool. So this is a new edition of Coriolis. This is completely different in my understanding than the Third Horizon. The focus of the game is different. The setting of the game is different. It's still Coriolis, but I want to say that this is going to be aimed at exploration, discovery, investigation, whereas the Third Horizon, it had that as well, but there was a lot of political intrigue going on. Coriolis, the Third Horizon is very cool. It is still available. You can still purchase it from Free League Publishing. It's got this kind of Middle Eastern flavor to it, almost an Arabian Nights feel to the proceedings. It is very unique, very, very cool. I reviewed the Coriolis, the Third Horizon releases and liked them a lot. All right, so we're going to have our introduction, your explorer. Looks like that might be where we have our character creation. Core mechanics. This is going to be built on the Year Zero engine, which is Free League Publishing's in-house mechanics. Combat hazards, the bird and its powers. Wonder what the bird is. Equipment and vehicles, the Lost Horizon. So we've got the Lost Horizon, not the Third Horizon. We'll see what that represents. Guilds and factions, Ship City, Jamua, I'm guessing at that pronunciation, and the Charted Sphere, space travel and expeditions, delving into the abyss, creatures and adversaries, running the game. Then we got the Black Ziggurats, which is probably an introductory adventure. And then we have the Outcast Explorer. Oh, these are solo rules. For a second, I was like, oh, is that another adventure? No, it looks like solo rules. Very nice. Very cool. All right. So let's take a quick peek. We've got our introduction. In Coriolis the Great Dark, you are part of a crew of explorers ready to venture out into this new universe, the Lost Horizon. You have your shuttle, your trusted crewmates, and a warding guardian in the form of your bird. Well, now we know what the bird is. A strange alien creature that can help you on your journeys. So we're going to get a breakdown of our chapters. Here we've got the Lost Horizon. Once upon a time, a disparate group of people left a part of the universe called the Third Horizon, their home. They called themselves the Diaspora, and they were fleeing a universe at war, setting the course towards a faint signal from the depths of space, a beacon they presumed from the legendary and long-lost generation ship Nadir. They set course with hope that, however futile it seemed, Nadir could somehow bring salvation to them all. The voyage of the Diaspora was long and arduous and almost tore their fleet apart, and it was a considerably diminished fleet that finally arrived at a lone system in unknown space. They named the system Jamua and rejoiced that their trials were at an end. And then the signal went silent. That's pretty wild. Ship City is the heart of the Diaspora civilization. In fact, it is the only true city in the Lost Horizon. Even so, it is a vibrant metropolis full of life. A paradox, as it is commonly known as the Dying City due to its precarious state. The city spreads out over the rocky surface with the rickety alleys and tunnels of Hulltown, burrows down deep underground in the dizzying drop of the chasm where kite flyers roam, descends through the mist in cable cages where the smell of spices is ever present, continue down through the haze where one better not dwell, and visits the majestic cave gardens where gardeners tend their precious fields of bloom. Even further in the smog-filled turbine halls where machinists work their trade, in the city's dusty heart is the inner sanctum, a vast and gloomy system of caves where the Coriolites perform their old rituals. Aluminum Bay at the far end of Ship City is a bustling harbor filled with crane rats, hull painters, and dock workers, all making sure that the great ships are serviced and ready for the next expedition. Return to the surface and head up the tower of the Astrolab. Here the eyes of the Navigators Guild peer out into the great dark, mulling its mysteries. They might look down on the city from time to time and realize what a wonder it really is. Interesting. Very cool. Like that a lot. So we've got Into the Abyss. We've got the Explorers Guild. Ship City's youngest guild was founded by the forceful Master Masca when major guilds started to question their long term engagement in the ruins. The challenges posed by the Blight, despite the advantage granted by the birds to the explorers, made the ruins perilously dangerous and resource intensive to explore. There was a growing sentiment that the potential rewards of the ruins were failing to live up to expectations. Master Masca managed, through considerable political maneuvering, to convince the three major guilds that it would be in their interest to place an independent guild in charge of ruin exploration. She masterfully played the paranoid guilds against each other and received their blessing to build the foundation of a new guild. Thankfully, we don't have a ton of light text on dark background. There is some, but unlike, say, the first print run of Star Trek Adventures from Motivius Entertainment, where it was all white text on black background, which is really taxing on the eyes, it just looks like we get a little bit here and there, sort of as a graphical break almost. Looks cool, though. Dig the artwork that we're seeing as well. Your explorer is your alter ego in the game. Through their eyes, you'll experience the lost horizon. Try to truly put yourself in the explorer's boots and don't try to shield them from every danger. The object of the game is to create an exciting story, and to do this, you'll have to take some risks. In this chapter, we'll go through the process of creating an explorer. This should probably be done together with the other players. When done, move on to assembling your crew with equipment, shuttle, and rover. Note all the information on your explorer sheet and crew sheet. So you're going to roll up an origin, and we are going to be using, looks like a D66. I wonder if we're going to be, well, maybe not. Sometimes you see a D66 where you take the lowest die and that's your tens. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a straight D66. So you're going to get your origin, your profession. Our attributes are strength, agility, logic, perception, insight, and empathy. If you are not familiar with the Year Zero engine, which is what Coriolis the Great Dark is built upon, it is a dice pool system. So you're going to use six-sided dice. Your various different attributes and skills will normally give you a dice pool. You're going to roll. You're looking to roll. Depending on the game, usually it's for 6 in order to succeed. We'll see how to play the game a little bit further. We do have name and appearance, reason why you became an explorer. So there are a lot of random tables here if you would like. Have crew roles. We've got the Delver, leads the way down into the ruins, choosing paths through the dark. We've got the Scout, scouts ahead, discovering the dangers hidden in the distance. The Burrower digs through and secures paths in the caves and tunnels of the ruins. Guard protects the crew against any adversaries the Great Dark can throw at you. And then we have the Archaeologist, knows how to understand the ruins, monuments, and glyphs. We've got improving your explorer, improving your crew. And it looks like these are our archetypes. So we've got the artist, the enforcer, the esoteric, the odd jobber. Yeah, I can tell just by the design style that they have moved away from that Middle Eastern flavor. At least maybe they've tamped it down a bit. We've got the traveler. Of course, I am skipping some pages here, so we didn't see all of them. All right, so we get into our core mechanic. To attempt something difficult or dangerous, first describe what the player character is trying to achieve. Then add the attribute score that best matches the challenge at hand and the level of any one applicable talent you have. Grab that many base dice. If you have the right tools, you also get a number of gear dice. So you have 2 different colored dice. Then roll the dice because, yes, you can get results which will damage or break your gear. For your action to succeed, you must roll at least 1 6. There we go. So we got sixes here. If not, your action fails. If you roll more than 1 6, you perform your action exceptionally well and could get a better outcome. Of course, with most free league publishing games that utilize the Year Zero engine, I'll bet that we've got custom dice available for Coriolis. There is also supposed to be, I believe, an adventure supplement. I think it's going to be in PDF. I don't know if it's going to actually be a physical book. So here we've got talents, combat talents, social talents, vehicle and exo talents, knowledge talents. Some of these talents are bowman, fast reflexes, agitator, bargain, charming, exo specialist, great ship pilots, archaeologist, glyph scholar, historian. So we've got quite a few different talents here. And it just tells us exactly what we get. And for the most part, it's giving you an additional base die for each level of that talent. Insight talents, equipment, recovery, stealth, resilience. Here we got combats and hazards. Combat in the Year Zero engine tends to be more narrative than crunchy. There will be some tactical options, things like that, but for the most part, from my experience, you're not going to see your combat encounters, I should say, bogged down into 30, 40 minutes endeavors. Hope and despair. Well, that's kind of cool. Suffering despair, recovering hope. Heart and blight. Delving is not something for the unprepared or weak-minded explorer. Blight will reduce your heart score. You can get exposed to blight in many situations. On a delve, when performing assignments during the voyage, through the slipstream, or even when attacked by the aberrations of the Great Dark. Delving suits can protect you from blight. The effect of a delving suit is determined by its blight protection rating. When you suffer blight, roll a number of gear dice equal to the blight protection rating of the suit. Every 6 you roll decreases the blight suffered by 1. This roll does not count as an action, cannot be pushed. So we have pushing your rolls with actions then. So we've got vehicle actions. All right, so we've got the bird. Let's find out about the bird. First encountered in a sealed pod orbiting the dead portal of Avarkvarat in the year 112, the species commonly known as Garuda, or in everyday talk simply the birds, has had a major impact on the fate of the human diaspora. These creatures that were strangely similar to the flying animals of old Ardha seem to have slept for eons awaiting discovery. But why? After early missteps where scientists mistakenly believed the Garuda to be simple animals, researchers learned that the birds had powers that defied explanation. Later research proved a connection to the builders, and it is indeed hypothesized that the Garuda were left behind by the builders as guardians of their legacy. So we've got the bird in play. I gotta say, I am very intrigued by this. So we get into our equipment, vehicles, our gear. Oh, that's cool. Get some images of the different weapons here. Here we've got our delving suits. And of course, all of our stats for those. It's like quite a bit here. Even services, medicine, decontamination and drugs, books and pamphlets. We've got ground vehicles, yeah, to scale too. That's cool. I like how we have those included there. Heirlooms. So the explorers here are delving into these ruins looking for artifacts. I wonder if they're utilizing the artifacts or if they're selling the artifacts. Here looks like we're going to get into some of the intrigues of Ship City with the guilds and factions. The Navigators Guild, the Coriolites, Wardens of the Past. Lesser players are the Mining Combine, the Wreckers. Talking about Ship City, a dying city. Get into a lot more detail there. Oh, that's cool. That's a cool map there with the different districts. It looks as if we've got quite a bit of information about that. And then we have another chapter on Jamua. Once again, I'd taken a wild stab in the dark on that pronunciation. Here's the charted sphere. Space travel and expeditions. Exploration is cardinal to the identity of Ship City. Ever since the diaspora arrived in Jamua, finding a new home for its dwellers and resources for the city to survive in the meantime has been the glue that holds the city together. It started out as adventurous expeditions to nearby asteroids, but with the opening of the slipstream passages, whereby new systems and planets could be reached, exploration has transformed into something akin to an industry. It has also become a source of conflict between the guilds, who all try to make sure they reap the benefit from whatever is found. The Explorers Guild was created to curtail this discord by giving it exclusive rights to delve into the ruins, but this did not put an end to the conflicts. Most expeditions are still conceived, planned, and manned by the guilds. Although the main star arms of the charted sphere were surveyed over the past century, they remain far from fully explored. Expeditions continue to venture into known regions of the sphere, aiming to colonize, extract resources, or map ancient ruins. So the great ships, voyages across the great dark, stats for different ships, delving into the abyss. So these are procedures for the different delves. Supplying your delve. There's an example of a delve. All right, so we start getting into the Gamemasters section here. So here we've got creatures and adversaries, blight beings, constructs, beasts. The beasts of the Lost Horizon come in many different forms, both on planets and gas giants, in the darkness of space, or even the slipstream, but they all have a physical form. Encounters with beasts should always feel new and unique. Try to use their patterns to make the encounters feel like there is something different every time. So it appears that we are going to have some random behavior patterns. So you're going to roll a d6 as the game master. They had some echoes. Then we've got adversaries, which look like these are NPCs. So we've got alley thug, assassin, cultists, and so on. Themes of the game: exploration, space as a wild sea. Traveling is never easy. Create a sense of wonder. The importance of maps. Be inspired by history. We also have mystery is another theme. Intrigue, the never-ending struggle. Intrigue follows. Whispers in the dark. The cost of loyalty. We have hope. Teamwork. What to do as a game master. Go big on atmosphere. Be generous with clues. Narrative versus mechanics. Follow the players. Set the stakes. Fail forward. Reuse NPCs. That's something that I think is a big deal, because when you reuse NPCs, you create a connection for the players. Plus, you have recurring villains too with your NPCs. Threaten their base, use the bird, reward the explorers. We get a breakdown of the anatomy of an adventure. And then I believe we will get that example adventure. So this is kind of giving you some rules and tables for creating adventures. And then the black ziggurats. Like I said, I thought this was an example adventure here. I'm just flipping through quickly so I don't spoil any of the surprises. And then here's the Outcast Explorer. There you go. Solo rules for Coriolis, the Great Dark. Nice. Normally, what we'll see is a standalone release, a lot of times in PDF from Free League Publishing with solitaire rules, such as the Strider mode for the One Ring. And I think now that is available physically, but originally it was just an additional PDF. This is included in the book. That's pretty cool. Then we'll get into our index, possibly. We get our inspirations, books, role-playing games. There we go. There's our index and our character sheet. Sorry. Oh, we got a character sheet. We got a crew sheet. Is this our ship? Oh, no, it's a delve sheet. Nice. All right. That is a peek inside Coriolis, the Great Dark from Free League Publishing. Once again, this is a Gen Con 2025 release. Also means it is arriving in stores on July 31st. Carries an MSRP of $49.99. Once again, taking a stab, you'll find the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG, also July 31st, for about $24.99. All right, so very interesting. I am very intrigued. Sadly, I will not have a review of this prior to its Gen Con release, but early August, keep your eyes peeled. I will have a review of Coriolis, the Great Dark. All right, that's it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this first look, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.